So welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, December 8th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, where there's a whole lot of other stories to look at as well. Here are the news stories from the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. 17 people are homeless after 3 different house fires on the Rosebud Reservation of South Dakota. The Black Hills chapter of the American Red Cross says it is assisting a family of 4 and a family of 6 from Rosebud and a family of 7 from Mission, South Dakota. The families were displaced after separate fires at each one of their homes this last Friday. A contentious Everglades restoration project that a judge once called an environmental bridge to nowhere kicked off last Friday with a visit from the Interior Secretary 2 decades after Congress had authorized it. Today we have reached a historic milestone in the restoration of the Everglades, U.S. Interior Secretary Ken Salazar said at the project's ceremonial start. The government plans to build a 1-mile-long bridge along a South Florida roadway that has acted as a virtual dam to the once free-flowing waters of the Everglades. The Miami Trail runs from Miami to Tampa. State and federal officials, along with environmentalists, have lauded the $81 million project as a crucial step toward restoring more natural water flow into Everglades National Park. The Miccosukee tribe of Indians, however, who live in the region, claim the project could lead to irreparable destruction and have been fighting it in federal court. An official says the Blackfeet tribe in northwestern Montana has signed the largest oil exploration agreement in the tribe's history. Oil and gas manager Grinnell Day Chief says the tribe last Thursday signed an agreement with the Houston-based Newfield Production Company to allow test wells in the middle of the reservation. Dan Chief says the company will be drilling horizontal wells into the Bacan Formation and other formations nearby. New drilling technology has made the Bacan Formation one of the nation's hottest oil exploration areas in recent years. Day Chief declined to give the dollar amount of the agreement, but he says it's a lot larger than a $5 million agreement the tribe signed with another company. Several tribal groups in South Dakota are getting grants through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The department is giving out nearly $41 million nationwide to Native American communities and organizations to improve local economies and health care and create jobs. Grants are for 1, 2, and 3 years. In South Dakota, the Pine Ridge Area Chamber of Commerce is expected to get $1.3 million, the Lakota Fund $1.3 million, the White Eagle Christian Academy $870,000, Red Cloud Indian School $299,000, and Rural America Initiatives $100,000. Dennis White, a school administrator on the Lakota Ojibwe Reservation of northern Wisconsin, has been chosen by the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian to help save the ancient art of finger weaving. He addresses the public on this upcoming Saturday, December 12th, at the museum in Washington, D.C. He began with a mathematical eye for numbers and patterns, then with a book and lessons from a few elders. He set out on a 30-year journey into the world of finger weaving, an ancient Native American art form that today is nearly extinct. Now the journey is taking White to Washington, D.C. as one of 4 people from across the United States selected for the 2009-2010 Artist Leadership Program conducted by the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of the American Indian. Over the next few months, White will study, consult with museum experts, share his knowledge, and work to create a new generation of weavers. For White, finger weaving is an all-consuming hobby that enables him to maintain a connection with his heritage while also preserving an ancient art form. And in our continuing discussion about the potential of a national health bill, we again talked to Shoshone-Bannock tribal member Mark Trahant.
Where are you today?
I'm in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, sunny Florida, and it's snowing in northern Wisconsin. Nice guy.
Well, I have not left the hotel, and it just occurred to me at 3:12 that I hadn't had lunch. So I'm actually at a fascinating convention, the Institute for Healthcare Quality. And it's a group of people who are really determined to improve the quality of healthcare. And there's a big component of the Indian health system fact, one of the things I like about this convention that's really unique is that every day the Indian associated groups gather and do a debriefing and talk about what they learned at the convention. I thought, what a great idea. We could do this at Unity, or there's lots of places we could do something like that.
What are they saying about healthcare down there, and how does that group impact the Indian Health Group? How do they fit in?
Well, in a lot of ways, they're learning from the Indian Health Service. One of the systems that's just being talked about today is one of the crown jewels is the Alaska Native Medical Center and the South Central Foundation that operates part of that. They use a patient rigor that brings in, in fact, they've even changed the language. They're not called patients there. They're called owners and customers. And the owner customers decide what's going to happen. And the more you can get people involved with their own health care, the better the system is for everybody.
This was a program in Alaska, did you say?
Yes, at the Alaska Native Medical Center, which is a contracted facility.
I think I went to it once, and it was one of the most family-oriented. It had art displays in wings. It had little rooms for families to meet with people in privacy, if it's the same facility.
That is it. And one of the things they're really trying to do that we don't think about, but healthcare costs can only get down when we have beds empty, when people don't go see the doctor, when people do the things that they do in life. And there's no reward in the system for that. Nobody pays you for having an empty hospital bed, even though that's what we want.
Indeed. And it seemed to me that the more you listen to people about wanting to bring family members home at times for healing or for ceremonies and things like that, that listening to people makes for an unsterile hospitalization environment, which is conducive to healing.
Absolutely. In fact, Donald Berwick, Dr. Berwick, who's the CEO of this organization, spoke this morning. And he had just recently returned from Ghana. And he was at a clinic that's doing some amazing things. And he asked the woman running the clinic, what makes it work? What's the one thing that makes the system work? And she said, respect. And it's that respect for people that if you can get into the system where there is listening, which is not unlike traditional healing, that things start to happen.
Are they going to be able to integrate any respect into this bill if it ever goes anywhere in D.C.?
I just went to a session with a couple of, one from the White House and one from the Speaker's office. And it's very much into the nitty-gritty. And I do think the important message, though, that they said that's worth passing along is that this is just the beginning, that the real hard work begins after something passes. Just one example is the definitions of quality. The bill doesn't get into that. That's going to be the hard work that follows. And that's going to be true for the Indian Health Service as well.
Indeed. We're going to check back with you again in the near future and see where we're at on this healthcare debate. Big news out of Washington, D.C. today that kind of preempts everything again.
I saw that.
A settlement of the Cobell lawsuit of some kind, or at least a proposed settlement. What do you think about that in 30 seconds or less?
Kudos to the Obama administration for pressing it forward and getting people to the same table. And I hope Congress follows up and does its part.
Okay, thanks a lot for checking in with us, Mark. You take care and have fun in the sun.
Okay, bye.
And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to say and give our sincere thanks from our production crew and everyone else at Indian Country TV for you joining with us again. Miigwech.